Not many people are getting a cloud for Christmas, but chances are a lot of the stuff you do get is going to require that you buy online storage sometime down the line. You got to back up those holiday photos and videos eventually in case your hard drive fails or your phone gets lost or just to free up space. So today we talk cloud to save you money. This is Fortt, Knox, Rich Ideas and Powerful People, and I've got a cloud-savvy crew with me to give you the best insights heading into 2019. We're going to go through your cheapest options first, then go through your biggest bang for the buck. And then, for all my fellow techies out there, on the podcast this week, you'll hear from the father of the cloud himself, Andy Jassy, CEO of Amazon Web Services, who sat down with me this week in Las Vegas. But now, let's talk deals. Joining me to break it down, Rob Marvin is Associate Features Editor at PCMag.com, with me here at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. In L.A., Jefferson Graham is a tech columnist for USA Today, and joining us a little later from Las Vegas, Jordan Novet is a tech reporter for CNBC.com. I know almost every cloud player has a free plan, but let's be honest, none of them are good enough for you to back up your photos and videos from your life if you're more than 3 years old. Maybe if you only got 3 years worth of stuff, it could do. First time walking, first food, that sort of thing. But after that, that 5 gigs is gone.
Exactly.
So, Rob, well, let's not even talk about the absolutely free tier. There's a lot of them that are sort of in this band between 70 and $100 a year.
Right.
Which are the best?
Okay, so it's a fun landscape to break down because, like you said, these are services that everybody gets whether or not you even realize that you got it. You're talking about apps and services and devices that you've already bought come with built-in storage, be it Google Drive, which is now Google One, iCloud, even now Amazon Drive, Microsoft OneDrive. So for the most part, they all start around the same price point, and all these players realize that this recurring revenue is big for them. So they've eliminated the unlimited tier. So for the most part, you get that 2 or 5 or 10 gigs to start, but that's really just a taste to get you kind of locked into the ecosystem. And beyond that, it tends to scale up pretty quick, pretty slowly and then exponentially. So you'll start with like $199 or $299 for 100, 200 gigs.
Right, that's Google One. They'll start you at
exactly
100 gigabytes for $2 a month. For $3, let's see, up to 2 terabytes you can get for $10 a month,
exactly.
Which is probably more than most people need.
Yeah,
I would say.
A lot of that is upselling. It's these companies want you to buy more storage than you need because you might need it eventually, but it's just a really easy way to get you to pay more every month than maybe you need to. So I like the ones that essentially have you pay upfront for the year, which would be more.
You usually get a better deal that way.
Yeah,
because it's either you pay $10 a month, or for $8 and change a month, if you pay all in upfront for the year, you can get it for $100 a year, right?
Exactly, and you can get those. The big tech giants tend to want you to pay month to month and scale up as you need it. But then you have companies like Box and Dropbox that allow you to essentially pay for the year. And that's more about, it's also about what you need, whether you're using it more for documents, we're using it more for files and photos. Especially, when we talk about deals, we'll talk about the unlimited photos that you get with different services.
Yes. Jefferson, what are your picks, a couple of them, for the best cloud services? If you're trying to be cheap, maybe you're single, you're not worried about your family or any extras, you just want to be able to back up all your stuff. So I'm thinking in the neighborhood of 500 gigabytes to a terabyte worth of storage, which is going to cost you, well, you tell us how much we should expect to pay for that.
Well, the cheapest and most economical service is Amazon, which is $60 a year for 1 terabyte. It's not as easy to use as the other services, and they've been known to change their terms midstream. For instance, it was unlimited a year ago. I had 5 terabytes on there until I couldn't, and it was all deleted, and I had to go elsewhere. So I say Google and Apple and Dropbox would be, as far as usability, would be the 3, but Dropbox is twice as expensive as Google and Apple. I also need to point out that Google, when you're paying for your terabyte, it also includes your Gmail. Most people don't realize this, but I, for instance, somehow have 25 gigabytes worth of storage, or something like that. Something huge amount of storage is in my Gmail from all the years of Gmail, and the only way I can cut it down is to actually spend, what do you think, 30, 60, 90 days deleting emails, which I'm not prepared to do, so I'm going to spend the money.
So you end up paying for the Gmail storage that you had been getting for free. So that's a cautionary note for some people out there. Now, we're going to get into the cases in which it actually makes sense to maybe go for one of the other providers. I am personally on Microsoft, which neither of you has mentioned yet. It's partly because I have a family, but we're going to get more into that in the value segment. When we're talking about, again, the best deal, what are some of the pitfalls that people should watch out for, besides having to all of a sudden pay for the storage in Gmail, which you might not have anticipated before? Rob?
Right. Well, that's he mentioned a big one. You should always be watching that gauge to see which services are essentially taking up space that you didn't even realize. Gmail is an important one. But you're right. Depending on the service, I mean, he mentioned Amazon Drive, which gives you, which you get with a free Amazon Prime membership. It also gives you access to Amazon Photos. Google's the same way, giving you unlimited Google Photos. Unlimited Google Photo storage, which is important. But you also mentioned the family plans, which are interesting. I like the way that these tech companies are starting to really, treat it like a cell phone data plan almost, where Google allows you to add 5 family members up to the same plan. Microsoft does the same thing with Office 365, which is connected to OneDrive.
Now it's 6 people total on Microsoft,
yes,
which is interesting.
6 people total. Apple does the same thing with iCloud, and those are interesting deals. But it's also the deal might not be as great as you think it is, because essentially they're adding those users to your existing plan, so that ultimately you're still going to have to upgrade to that next gear of 500 gigabytes or terabytes. It's all about I mean, when you look at just the market value of these companies, they always tout in the earnings reports the recurring software as a services revenue, which is I mean, that's really it's the boon of a lot of the growth that we've been seeing. And a lot of that comes down to the enterprise, but on the consumer side, they're really banking on you continuing to scale up just as your digital life expands. Nobody's ever going down.
I should also mention Apple, by the way. The number 2 division at Apple is services.
Absolutely.
That's iCloud, Apple Music, and iTunes, but it's really about those nagging messages every day that you've run out of room when you haven't really run out of room.
Jefferson, I want to ask you about compatibility, because that's something that people don't always think about up front. We talked about usability a bit, but some of this has to do with maybe you've got a phone on one platform, an iPhone or an Android phone, but you've got a Windows PC, or you've got a Mac, and there's some mismatch perhaps between the operating system platform and the provider of that and the provider of the cloud storage. So how well do they play together? How well does Microsoft's OneDrive play with the Mac, or does Amazon's Drive play with Android and Google with Apple, et cetera, et cetera? Okay,
well, OneDrive, I'm a Mac user. OneDrive's all over Mac, so that's no problem. iCloud is a Mac system. It may work on Windows. I don't believe it does. I could be wrong.
It does.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're
there's an app for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that great, but it works.
Okay. Google obviously is both platforms, as Android and iOS, and Dropbox would be the easiest to use of all of them because they have the best apps and the best usability. It's just twice as expensive as Google and Apple. You'll pay $100 a year for 1 terabyte versus 2 terabytes with the other platforms. And let me also mention that when 1 terabyte to the viewers right now sounds like a lot, it's not. We're shooting 4K video on our phones. We're shooting 3 megabyte photos like crazy. People are taking pictures of their food. They're taking selfies. They're probably generating 1 to 2 gigabytes a week. Multiply that by 50. Multiply that by a few years. The data is huge, and we need the storage to save it.
It absolutely is. Once again, this is Fortt Knox, and we are talking about the best deals in the cloud. And I want to talk best value. Let me make it clear right here. Nobody is paying us for this. There are no, sponsors, clouds, any of that. To the extent that we're talking about what we personally use, it's just what we happen to personally use. In my case, the most economical deal that I could find for my situation was Microsoft OneDrive, because they give you a terabyte per person for about $100 a year. A terabyte per person in your family. Everybody doesn't have to be in the same household. So my mom, who lives in Maryland, is part of this deal. And you get access to Office apps on both your mobile devices and on your desktop, whether it's Windows or Mac. And the terabyte is separate to each person. So it's not like each person has to share this pool of data. Works for me thus far. I haven't hit a terabyte yet. I suppose if I do, I could shove the data off into one of the unused accounts if I want to get really creative. Rob, for situations where people are making a decision, platform decision for the entire family, how does that change the calculus?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting part of the buying decision. You mentioned OneDrive is really good in that way, especially in how it's linked with Office 365. Google's been trying to do the same thing with Google One, which is why they've been, merging all of that together. But yeah, I mean, the platform decision really comes down to, it's something you have to think about when you're buying, a new laptop or a smartphone or even the apps and services that you're considering, because all that together is, the tech companies are trying to lock you into this ecosystem where once you buy one smartphone, you continue buying smartphones like the iPhones. Anybody who's had an iPhone for more than a year or two has definitely run into the cap. We've talked about the storage limits. A lot of people call it kind of an Apple tax because it is after a while, and ultimately it's very convenient. They don't, you're not going to want to switch your services once everything is backed up on, across all your devices, across your whole family.
Though I refuse. Jefferson, the way I've got the cloud service set up on my phone, it uploads the photos and videos automatically when I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and that way I can just delete what's on my phone. After I check and make sure it actually backed up to the cloud, I can delete it. So I don't need huge storage on a phone. I don't have to pay that Apple tax just to get some ridiculous amount of storage because I like to take videos of my kids.
Okay, we should also mention that Google Photos is an app that lets you upload everything for free from your phone. It's slightly lower resolution. I'm a professional photographer as well. I've never seen any degradation of the image. So you're in pretty great shape. You can get unlimited storage there. And if you get all the family members for OneDrive, that's great. Are they actually using it? Because I don't know that I get my wife and my mother using the backup services. I sort of have to do all the backing up for everybody.
Yeah.
That I can't guarantee. The user, once I set you up, it's at your own risk, and you got to take care of yourself. But I can say my mom's using it. She's definitely using the apps. My wife is using those as well. Part of it is an ecosystem decision. It's easiest to go with the device that you already have. But Rob, to what extent should people be thinking about? Do they like Google Apps, or do they like still Microsoft Office? And should that play into the decision of what cloud they subscribe to?
I think it should, especially you mentioned the photos. Google Photos is great for that sort of thing, and also I think has the best kind of AI features underneath to kind of stitch your photos together into memories. And as you mentioned, it's unlimited. But with all these services, it really comes down to what you're using it for. I still think independently of the big vendors, Box and Dropbox are probably the best ones to go with, although obviously Dropbox is more expensive. But there's also other things to consider, like obviously right now data security and privacy. There are other services that PCMag has reviewed that are more expensive, but give you more data encryption during syncing and backup and restore. Services like SpiderOak, for instance, smaller vendors that you probably haven't even heard of. But there are people who obviously now with more privacy concerns around Google and other tech giants may not want to have their data locked into some of these larger providers, and that's really a preferential thing.
I think an important thing to consider is how hard is it for you to get your image down from these sites. Dropbox is the easiest to find it and pull it down. Google, I pay for Google. I pay for Google Drive because it's really simple. I've got everything signed up with Google Photos and Google Drive. And as I told you, I don't want to spend 3 months going through my Gmail deleting things. Right. Amazon, good luck. Good luck finding your photos there. If you're a Prime member, you can upload all your photos from your phone there, but they're very hard to find. It's not a very elegant solution. Dropbox is the best looking. Google Drive works. Obviously, OneDrive works. And iCloud is a little spotty for finding your stuff. Though
right.
if you have an Apple TV,
iCloud's very spotty.
If you're on Apple, let's bring in. Now's a good time to bring in Jordan Novet. Once again, this is Fortt Knox. We are talking about the cloud, personal decisions about where to spend your money, where to get the most bang for your buck. Jordan, part of this that we haven't touched on yet, but it's relevant, is if you've got Internet of Things, cameras around the house, say Ring doorbell cameras, sometimes it makes sense if you're all in, say, the Amazon ecosystem to pay for Amazon storage there because the video footage from around your house ends up in that system and you end up saving money, right?
You know, John, I'm with you on OneDrive. I am not sure, though, that I'm with you on doing all these IoT devices quite yet. And so what I'm doing is I'm just sticking with Google, and that's for the free tier. And I am with you guys when it comes to having to delete emails. I spent 3 hours a few weekends ago deleting very old emails, unsubscribing from so many people and companies that have been emailing me over these years, taking up my space.
Nobody wants to do that on a weekend.
No one does. No, and you know what? I'm going to have to do it again this weekend. It's just a pain. And so at the same time, Google Drive has 1 billion users, more than any of these other services. And I really think that that is a point of scale that you're going to build on when it comes to monetization. Like Apple doesn't have iCloud on Android. Good luck getting that to happen. They say that they care about services, but really do they? So I think with OneDrive, you're going to see that availability with different plans. They are, getting really close, if not exceeding Apple in market cap this week, today maybe.
And that means the total value of all the shares of stock, if you add them together, it's interesting how close Apple and Microsoft have gotten. Though, with the spike in the stock market today, I think Apple might be pulling back ahead.
Okay, all right, that could be. But I would just say, who's building the better AI? Who is building more data centers? It's Google. Microsoft is up there as well. I just want to stick with the Google services that are so easy to find your documents with, so easy to find photos with. I don't mess around with Box or Dropbox. They don't really know how to build data centers the same way that Google and Microsoft do. That's just a fact.
Let me just say about Google is, let's not forget, Google Search. There's a reason we use Google Search, because it's so good. So when I'm looking for a picture from downtown Los Angeles and I type in downtown LA, I type in Felix Chevrolet, boom, there it is. Anything that you can come up with, 9 times out of 10, it finds it. Good luck finding your stuff on Amazon or one of the other services.
Amazon's user
OneDrive is so bad to find anything with, too. I agree.
Yeah, I got to say, Rob, though, maybe it's just me. I'm a little bit paranoid when it comes to some of these cloud providers. I like the idea of paying somebody to keep my data. I'm not sure I love the idea of Google knowing where all my photos were taken location-wise and exactly when, and developing this time-stamped view of everywhere I've been in my life. That's why I don't necessarily care to be on Google, because it seems like these platforms say they're doing one thing with the data, and then we find out sometimes they were doing something else.
But your alternative is to buy a hard drive. And the problem with the hard drives is that they fail. Okay,
no.
I've had too many hard drives fail.
I'm not saying I'm not keeping it in the cloud. I'm saying I'm a little bit wary of the business model of the company that I'm trusting with the hoard of my data. I like
you trust
Amazon?
Amazon?
Put them in different buckets, so nobody's got too much information.
You're hitting on the crux of the reckoning that we've all been dealing with the past year or two as privacy issues have come to the fore. This bargain that we made with the internet a decade ago with free services that we gave our data to without really realizing the consequences of it, or really what even the company is realizing what they might use it for 5 or 10 years down the line. And we're doing the same thing now. Obviously, we're talking a lot about Microsoft and Google, and they have the best AI, they have the most intuitive interfaces, the easiest apps, and that's because of the data. It's core to everything that they're doing. It's how they make it more contextual. It's how they make it more personalized. But the flip side of that is obviously that you have to give up that privacy.
At first, they just wanted my email address and to know what I was searching for, and now with maps and photo search, image search, all that, they want to know a lot, Jefferson.
They do, and but what's the alternative? Amazon wants to know just as much. Microsoft wants to know about you.
Eggs in different baskets. That's my solution.
I mean, so you should be on Dropbox. You should be on Dropbox. You should have all your stuff on Dropbox.
I do my searches on Google. I keep my data in Microsoft. I use an iPhone. Jordan, I'll give you the last word on this one. You were starting to get to this before, but where do you place your bets on who's going to come out best, not just on features, things like AI, but also on protecting the customer privacy-wise?
Well, you haven't heard a single thing about a Google Drive hack the way that you've heard about iCloud photos getting hacked. And I would say with Google, they know security pretty well at this point. When it comes to privacy, it's a different matter, and you all are right to discuss that. But my money, literally, I have the OneDrive subscription. And I would imagine they're going to get better, Microsoft that is, at packaging up subscriptions people want and making them feel safe with their data, keeping it secure as well. So my bet is on Microsoft. I also am betting on Google, but I'm not ready to pay for both. I pay for Microsoft. I don't pay for Google.
I got you guys. It was a great discussion. Rob Marvin from PCMag.com, Jefferson Graham of USA Today, and our own Jordan Novet. Up next, the CEO of AWS, Andy Jassy. This has been Fort Knox, rich ideas and powerful people. Thanks for joining us. I'm here at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. See you next time.